Good morning. Is this an okay volume for you? I am so excited that you are here with me today. Who's excited? Why are you excited? Why? Does anybody know why you're excited? Why are you excited? Where's Ryan Williams? Is he here today? Ryan Williams, why are you here and why are you excited today? He's an amazing author. This is all because of Ryan Williams, everybody. Ryan Williams wanted to do a Google Hangout and Skype with Mr. Gibbs, Stuart Gibbs, last year, and he asked me, and I tried, and I couldn't, and we couldn't arrange it, and then I got an email from R.J. Julia at the bookstore in Middletown, and they said, any Connecticut schools want to have a visit from Stuart Gibbs? And I'm like, me. And he's here. What do you say? Say good morning to Stuart Gibbs. So I know that you're going to remember our best rocks behavior, and I'm going to hand you off to Mr. Stuart Gibbs right now.
All right. Oh, okay. Here we go. All right. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you, Ryan, for reaching out and making this all happen. I'm very excited to be here today. Before I do my presentation, I'm just going to sort of run you through the book series that I do very quickly so that the rest of the presentation makes sense. But can I just see a show of hands of who here actually knows who I am? All right, some of you guys don't, which is fine. I'm not going to make you go back to class or anything. But I had to tell you the books I do so that you understand why I'm here talking to you. I have this book up here right now, Spy School Goes South, because I have to put something up. And Spy School Goes South, I'm very excited about. That book only got published on Tuesday. That means that you're one of the first groups of kids I've got to talk to about this book. If you ordered this book, I will sign it later today, and that will make you one of the first human beings on Earth with a signed copy of Spy School Goes South. In fact, I'm not even just the Earth, to be honest. The entire universe will be one of the first humans in the entire universe with a signed copy of that book. So I'm excited about it. But I do 3 series right now. I do the Fun Jungle series, and this is a mystery series set in a zoo, not a normal zoo, but like a theme park zoo. Like somebody took your local zoo and combined it with Disney World and created this huge new theme park that people are coming from all over the world to visit. But things go wrong in Fun Jungle that would not go wrong at a normal zoo. For example, Fun Jungle decided they should have a mascot, but they didn't want a fake mascot like Mickey Mouse. They have a real live mascot named Henry the Hippo, is a very famous hippo. And shortly after Fun Jungle opens, Henry the Hippo dies under mysterious circumstances. And there's a kid named Teddy Fitzroy. He's about the age of some of the 5th graders here. Teddy's parents both work at Fun Jungle, so Teddy basically lives there. Teddy suspects that maybe somebody actually murdered this hippo. And he tries to get the police involved, and he can't. And so he decides to investigate himself. It turns out he was right. So he did murder the hippo, and now he's in a little bit of danger. There's all sorts of action adventure until he manages to figure out who did it and save the day. There are now 4 books in this series. The next one is Poached. I promise I did not kill off a koala bear in Poached. In Poached, the koala gets stolen. Big game where someone has taken a shot at one of the endangered rhinos at Fun Jungle, and then he's trying to figure out who's trying to kill this rhino. And Pandemonium, where an endangered panda has vanished mysteriously on the roof of Fun Jungle. Teddy has to figure out what happened to it. I also do the Moonbase Alpha series. Now, this is a mystery series as well, but it's very different from the Fun Jungle series in that this series takes place on the moon. It takes place in the year 2041, which we call the near future. It means it's a future you are going to live to see. And you'll see if I got my predictions right about what's going to happen in 2041. I'm predicting that's about when we'll maybe get our first moon base going. And the first people who are going to be on the moon base are most likely going to be scientists. And when you work on a moon base, you don't commute there every day. You have to go up for several years at a time, and they don't want to leave their families behind for that long, so they're bringing their families. So kids your age are showing up on the moon and discovering that Star Wars and Star Trek and Guardians of the Galaxy have lied to all of us about how awesome space travel is going to be. It's a lot more difficult to travel in space than we ever thought, we never sent the kid up, but I have to assume it's harder to be a kid than it is to be. No, like, you guys like going out to play when you get home from school? Yeah, you go outside and play? Yeah, you can't do that when you live on the moon. If you go outside, you will actually die. So that's a problem, right? So these kids are cooped up in this little moon base, and they can't get outside, and so when mysteries occur, they end up sort of getting involved. So there's 3 books in this series now. There's Space Case, Spaced Out, and Waste of Space. And then there's the Spy School series. And this series is about a kid named Ben Ripley, who's about your age, who gets recruited to the CIA's top secret academy of espionage. And he thinks, oh, awesome, they're going to turn me into James Bond. And it turns out to be a lot more difficult to be James Bond than he thought. And Ben's a normal guy, so he kind of makes some mistakes and he screws some things up. But he manages to persevere, and there's all sorts of bad guy intrigue and double crosses and good spy action, that kind of stuff. But Ben manages to figure everything out and save the day. Now there are now 6 books in this series. There's Spy School, Spy Camp, Evil Spy School, Spy Ski School, Spy School Secret Service, and as of Tuesday, Spy School Goes South. All right, now I've told you all the books already. Now I'm going to get into the presentation. I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to try and leave some time for questions at the end. So if you have a question you're dying to ask, please don't put your hand up, because I'm not going to be able to call on you in the middle of the presentation. And there's a decent chance that I might actually answer your question anyhow before you even get the chance to ask it, because I'm going to answer the question I get asked the most, which is, why do I do the books I do? Why do I do a series set in Spy School? Why do I do a series set on the moon? Why do I do a series set in a giant theme park zoo? Why would I kill off a hippopotamus? I thought I'd talk about where inspiration comes from, where ideas come from. Because I think a lot of times there's a misconception about authors. That even adults have this misconception. They think that an author gets an idea and we just run to our computer and just start writing. Like we just have that idea totally figured out. And that is absolutely not true. Sometimes we're thinking about an idea not just for days or weeks or months. Sometimes we're thinking about an idea for years before we ever figure out how to write it. And you'll find out that I actually had one idea that I've had for a very, very long time before I ever got to write that idea. I'm going to start by talking about the Fun Jungle series, because this is the first series I did. Before I sort of answer this question about where ideas come from, I have a question for you guys, which is, has anybody here ever thought about being an author? All right, some teachers too. All right, that's a good number of kids there. All right, and if your hand didn't go up, that's fine. Not everybody needs to be an author. We need doctors too. That'd be good. But for those of you who put your hands up, I was like you. This is a form I was given in elementary school. And I can tell you that I did not go to elementary school 150 years ago. This form was horribly outdated, even when I was a kid. For this, right here, first of all, they divided the jobs into boys' jobs and girls' jobs. But then here are the jobs. They said, hey, here are jobs for girls: mother, nurse, school teacher, airline hostess, model, and secretary. Have fun, ladies. So I'm sure that I do not have to explain to all the young women in the audience that you are not limited to these jobs here. You can do anything you want. And I should tell the young boys here that you are not limited to these weird jobs they put here. I grew up in Texas. Not a single one of my friends became a cowboy, and there it is, right there. So they gave us fireman, policeman, cowboy, astronaut, soldier, baseball player. I did not see what I wanted to do on there, so I put author in there. But I did not know how you became an author. I was pretty sure that they did not have job interviews for author where you walked into an office and said, I'd like to write books. And they said, great, go write one. So I didn't know how you got that job. I got all the way to college without really knowing how somebody became an author, if I could become an author. So I decided that I would study what I liked second most after writing, which was animals. Does anybody here like going to the zoo? Does anybody like going hiking out of the woods and seeing animals? Does anybody here like catching lizards and snakes? Yeah? All right, you're my people. Fantastic. Okay. So, I was like you. It's funny because I asked that question in New York City, and they all go, "Why would anybody catch a lizard or a snake?" That sounds like a horrible thing to do. But I used to do all that stuff. So I decided I would study to be a field biologist, which is a biologist who works out in the wilderness and studies animals out there. That's pretty much how we know about all animals. Everything we know about animals comes from people going out in the wilderness and studying them. And I can promise you, there's probably some field biologists working right around here in Connecticut studying your local wildlife. So the problem was I was going to a large city, and we didn't have any wildlife except for pigeons and rats. And we didn't want to study pigeons or rats, so we went to the zoo and picked an animal and pretended to study it in the wild. And you can learn a decent amount about an animal by watching it in the zoo. I picked an animal that had just shown up at the zoo. I didn't know anything about, called a capybara. Has anybody here ever heard of a capybara? All right. If you haven't heard about it, you shouldn't feel bad, because a lot of people have. A surprising number of people have not heard of the capybara, considering it's the world's largest rodent. And a lot of the time I tell people that, they say, "Ugh, that sounds like a giant rat." But they're actually pretty cute. Okay, they're very cute. All right, they're adorable. They're about this big, and they live in the rainforests of South America, and they're semi-aquatic. So I was studying these. Has anybody here ever thought about being a scientist? All right, good. I have a tip for you guys that I found out by accident. And that is that if you want to become an expert in something really quickly, just study something that nobody else has studied yet. I didn't know it when I started studying capybara, but I was the first person from America. I was actually the first person from outside South America to study this animal. And so therefore, when I turned in my research paper, I became the United States expert on the capybara. Because I only knew 3 things, but there was 3 more things that anybody else in the country knew. So I got to be an expert for like a year. But more importantly, my professor was really excited about this, so he was sending me to the zoo all the time to do research. And I got to spend a lot of time at the zoo. And when you're studying a live animal, you want to be watching it when it's most active, which is often not during the hours when the zoo is open. It's before the zoo is open. It's after the zoo is closed. So I was at the zoo all this time when other people were not there, except for the keepers. So I started talking to keepers. I started to find out how a zoo ran, and I started thinking, a zoo is a really cool place to set a story. Now, because I really wanted to be a writer, I started thinking of ideas I could set at the zoo. And does anybody here like reading mysteries? I love reading mysteries, and I thought I'd never read a mystery where an animal was the victim, so maybe that was a story I could set at the zoo. And I thought, hey, it was actually a good story for a kid, because I could have a kid investigate. A lot of the time when you're reading a book where a kid's investigating a crime, you're thinking, why is this kid not calling the police? But in Belly Up, I have my kid call the police. He calls them, they don't take him seriously, because the police do not investigate a whole lot of hippopotamus murders. There is no hippo homicide division of any police force in the entire United States. So, and now, I did not know it was going to be a hippo right away. It wasn't like I said, oh, I got to kill off an animal. Oh, hippo, that is totally obvious. That was maybe the part I didn't think about the most. What animal was I going to use? So now I worked at the zoo, so I started to realize that there were things there were certain animals that people got really excited about. They got really excited about big animals, and they got excited about really dangerous animals. But a lot of time, our perception of what animal is dangerous is actually totally wrong. Like these guys here, sharks, right? Now, there are a lot of people who are afraid of sharks. I live in California now. I have friends who've never gone to the ocean because they are sure sharks are waiting there to eat them. But that's not really true. And I get why sharks can be scary looking. That is a scary looking animal there. But I think people misunderstand how dangerous sharks are. In the entire world last year, out of the 8 to 9 billion people who are alive, 5 people were killed by sharks. 5. Right? Which is maybe, you could say 5 too many, but still, that is, we meanwhile killed over 100 million sharks last year. If anything, the sharks should be telling their children, please don't go on land, there are humans there, they're dangerous, they'll kill you. To put all this in perspective, we lost significantly more people last year to vending machines, all right? Because what happens is people try and steal candy out of the vending machine, and it falls over on them, and it crushes it. And so we've lost more people. And you might think I'm making this up, but they've started to put this warning on vending machines because it's been happening so much. They do not put warnings on sharks. right? They're not that dangerous, but they have to do this to protect us from ourselves. So don't steal candy from vending machines, first of all. We're learning. So I thought, okay, sharks are not as dangerous as we thought. There's a lot of animals people are afraid of that are not as dangerous as people think. So I started thinking, well, is there an animal out there that's more dangerous than people realize? Because that would be pretty fascinating. And so I did some research. I realized the most dangerous large land animal in Africa is not the lion or the leopard. It's actually kind of a tie. One of the winners are these guys, the Cape buffalo. But, you know, to be honest, that is kind of, these guys are kind of scary. Look, if you can understand, especially this one, you can say, that guy's pretty dangerous. But like I said, it's a tie. It's between the other equally dangerous large land animal in Africa is the hippo. Now, it's not like the Cape buffalo and the hippo competition every year where they say, hey, we can take out the most humans, but so it goes back and forth. But in a given year, on average, hippos kill about 200 people. There are many years where lions don't kill a single person in Africa, but hippos generally kill about 200 people a year. And I'll tell this to adults, and they'll say, that's crazy. How could a hippo kill anything? Hippos are these adorable, goofy, lovable animals. And this is a misconception. I think it's based upon how we are showing hippos in our society. This is how we tend to see hippos in our society. Has anybody seen the Madagascar movies? Yeah? I'm not just blaming these movies. This has been going on in movies for a very long time. This is from a movie called Fantasia. It came out 80 years ago. I mean, look at that adorable, goofy hippo. It's the books we read as kids. Has anybody ever read George and Martha? Yeah, I love this book. This is a great book. These are wonderful stories. These George and Martha do not behave like normal hippos. So you should know that. They're very sweet and kind to each other. They're not foul-tempered or anything. You probably read some Richard Scarry as a kid. That's a pretty typical Richard Scarry hippo. They're not all driving bulldozers, but you get the idea. You may not remember reading a Sandra Boynton book, but I will bet you somebody read you one of these books at bedtime at some point. Sandra Boynton is a one-woman PR agency for hippos. She draws these adorable, bashful, look how cute that guy is, right? But that is not a biologically accurate hippo, so now I'm going to be a biologist. This is a hippo skull. All right. Now, look at these teeth. All right, that tooth in real life is about 1.5 feet long. It is very, very sharp. Now, that is the kind of tooth a carnivore would have, but a hippo is not a carnivore. It does not eat meat. It eats plants. It's an herbivore. So here he is eating some grass. It's not using these teeth. That's what these teeth are for. Those are plant-eating teeth. So what on earth is an animal that eats plants doing with giant, sharp teeth like that? In part, they're for self-defense. That's probably your first thought. Oh, and which is true. Hippos use those teeth for self-defense. They've been known to bite crocodiles in half. But more often than using them for self-defense, they're using them to fight other hippos. Male hippos in particular are very, very territorial, very, very defensive. They will gouge each other to death with these teeth. You see, this guy's almost lost an eye here, but they will kill each other fighting for territory, fighting for mates. A male hippo is much more likely to get killed by another male hippo than it is to get killed by a lion or a crocodile. And they're so mean and territorial. They sometimes will even fight the females. And I'm going to show you some proof of this. I'm going to show you this next slide. It's a very rare photograph. As far as I know, there's only one other place on Earth you can see this photograph. It's at the San Diego Zoo, but it's behind the scenes at the San Diego Zoo. And what happened was, I was doing research for Belly Up, trying to figure out what animal I was going to pick. And I went to the San Diego Zoo, which is this really phenomenal zoo in California, and they took me around behind the scenes of a lot of exhibits, and I saw this photograph. And I said, that's amazing. Can I take a picture of it and share it? They said, yes. Now, this is a photo of the moment their male hippo met their female hippo for the first time. And if you look very, very closely, you will notice that they did not get along. Right? So, I was kind of astonished when I saw this photograph. I said, hey, I have seen a lot of hippos. I never knew they could do this. I didn't know they could jump. And there were a lot of people who were working there. Some of these people have been working at the San Diego Zoo with hippos for over 30 years. And they said, hey, until this very moment, nobody knew a hippo could do this. Nobody had ever seen a hippopotamus jump before. I thought that was pretty fascinating. I thought, man, if even the people who are learning, who work with hippos are still learning how aggressive and dangerous and agile these animals are, what else do I not know about hippos? And I started asking the questions and doing all sorts of research. And everything I found out about hippos was totally new to me, even though I'd seen plenty of hippos in the zoo. And not even more importantly, I thought this is not just fascinating to me, I'm sure it would be fascinating to readers your age. And I'll give you one other example. The moment I learned this, I thought, man, 4th, 5th, 6th graders are going to be really fascinated to know that hippos do this. Now, I am going to talk about this in school, in front of your teachers and your principal and everybody, but this is science. I'm allowed to talk about science in school. All right, this is called dung showering. And a lot of mammals mark their territory with stuff that comes out of their pack end, right? Does anybody here have a dog? Right? Yeah. Okay, so you know you walk your dog, and your dog is marking its territory everywhere and getting very excited because another dog marked its territory, you know. So this is a big thing for dogs. But it's also a big thing for hippos. Hippos, many other animals, mark their territory like this. But hippos are unusual, and then they will also do this in fights. They will do this to show, dominance over other hippos. But if you think about it, it makes sense, because you have two choices. One is getting gouged to death with big sharp teeth, or doing this. This might not seem like such a bad idea, right? Nothing says you are dominant over your enemies like projectile pooping at them. Now, I do not recommend that you try it, because you were not designed for this by evolution, but a hippo was. A hippo is spectacularly well designed to do this. First of all, you ever wonder why a hippo has that little stubby tail? It's like the size of my hand. It's nothing, but it goes back and forth like a little windshield wiper real quick, and it creates this nice spray. And then the hippo can projectile this big. Like, one hippo can shoot 30 feet, which means if there was a hippo right here, boom, you guys are all going home smelling real bad, right? And then your mom's like, what did you do in school today? So because of this, you do not want to be anywhere 30 feet behind a hippo. And because of the fact that they're aggressive and territorial, they can jump, you know, they have those big feet. You don't want to be anywhere 30 feet in front of a hippo. You don't want to be anywhere near a hippo, period, honestly. And I've been lucky enough to go on safari now in Africa. You get surprisingly close to animals you thought were dangerous. I've been in a safari before, and there has been a lion right there. And you'll say to the guide, is this safe? And the guide says, yeah, it's totally safe. Don't pet it, but you know, it's okay to have it right there. But they won't go anywhere near hippos. They're like, those animals are nuts. They will come at you, they'll charge you, they'll come out of nowhere, they'll come running out of the bushes, chase the safari animals, stop over boats, all kinds of stuff. They're like, they're the psychos of the animal world. And I thought, this is a cool animal. This is something I want to write about. Now, I didn't just learn about hippos, I learned about all kinds of other cool animals like koalas and pandas and tigers and rhinos and elephants. It was too much for one book. So I thought, I got to do more books in this series. And I like finding these fun facts about animals, because I can write a fun story, but I can throw in these cool things and teach you guys a little bit, and that way I can be an author and a biologist at the same time, which is why I really like writing this series. Now, if I base the Fun Jungle series on hanging out with a bunch of zookeepers, talking to biologists and stuff, the Moon-Based Animal series is really based on just one person, and that is my friend Garrett Reisman. I met Garrett when I was in college, and Garrett is the smartest person I've ever met in my life. Now, has anybody ever seen a show called Big Bang Theory? It's a very popular show. It's the most popular show in America, and I don't like it. And I'll tell you why I don't like it. It's because it is a show that claims to be about smart people, but it's not about smart people. It's about a stereotype of smart people that is not true. And we all hear, oh, stereotyping is bad. Don't judge people by what they look like or whatever. Big Bang Theory presents smart people as these social misfits, these nerds and geeks, and that is not actually the case. I found with most of the really smart people I've met. Most of the smart people I met are very socially adept, very fun to hang out with, often very athletic, very adventurous, very funny people. Garrett was no exception. He was very popular in college, and after college, he had this job he wanted, and it's a hard job to get. In the history of humanity, only a few hundred people have this job, but like I said, he was really smart, he worked really hard, and he got the job. But here is Garrett at work a couple years ago. So you see Garrett has a pretty cool office. right? He became an astronaut. Now, I do have to point this out when I'm in this area of the country. I know we're right on the border of Yankees territory and Red Sox territory around the playoffs, and you may notice that Garrett is the only astronaut with the Yankees logo on his astronaut uniform. He did not play for the Yankees, he was just a Yankees fan, and he did that. But if you like the Red Sox, don't boo him. He's a nice guy. Has anybody here ever thought about being an astronaut? One kid? Oh, a couple of kids. All right, it's a cool job, all right? And I know this because my really good friend became an astronaut. And when you have a really good friend who's an astronaut, you get to do some cool astronaut stuff. Like the astronauts all train in Houston at the Johnson Space Center. I would go down there to see Garrett, and I would do some astronaut training with him. When you have a friend who's an astronaut, you get a front row seat when your friend blasts off into space. This is a space shuttle launch. There's Garrett up there waving out the window. When your friend is an astronaut, they can take your stuff into space for you. So Garrett was going into space. He asked me if I'd like to send anything up, and I had my first copy of Belly Up. So I sent it up with him, and he decided this was a fun thing to do. He would take it out of storage and put it up against the window of the International Space Station and take this photo. This is not a Photoshop picture. That is Belly Up with the actual Earth in the background. And he emailed me this photo from space, which is the coolest email I've ever got in my life. Should this ever happen to you, should somebody you know ever email you something of yours from space, here's what you do. You turn around and you forward that email to every person you've ever met in your entire life. And then you'll tweet it and you'll Instagram it, and you say, look, I have something in space, you don't, ha ha ha. Right? And one of the many people I sent this to my editor, I sent this to my publisher, they got very excited. They called me up and said, hey, you know an astronaut, that's so cool. When you wrote Fun Jump, remember how you based that on talking to zookeepers and biologists? I said, yeah. And they said, could you write a book set in space based upon what you learned by knowing an astronaut? And I said, that sounds like a great idea. But then I did think, well, what have I learned by knowing an astronaut? And I realized what I learned was everything I thought I knew about space travel was totally wrong. Now, has anybody here seen a Star Wars movie or Star Trek or Guardians of the Galaxy? Okay, so you are aware, we know those movies are fiction, right? We know those movies are just goofing around. Like, we don't, this is like a spaceship from Star Trek, right? But one of those movies. Like, that's enormous. We don't have that. That's bigger than this school. We don't have spacecraft like that. But has anybody ever gone to a science center and seen one of the IMAX movies about going into space? Right? Maybe gone to New York and seen the space shuttle there? That's how I knew about space travel. So I thought, I know everything about space travel. But it turns out that even those IMAX movies can be a little misleading. And I'll give you one example. One is the idea about how big the spacecraft are. Right? If you've seen the space shuttle, which I encourage you to do, it looks pretty big, but it's actually, the space shuttle's kind of like a big space pickup truck, where most of the room is the cargo bay, and the actual area the astronauts get turns out to be very small. And if you've seen those IMAX movies, it looks big because they're projecting it on a 6-story screen, but it turns out it's smaller than your bathroom at home. It really is. And so I was surprised. Now, we're not even using the space shuttle anymore. We're going back to the capsule system, and the capsules are really small. This is an Apollo capsule, went to the moon. 3 guys went to the moon in 10 days. These are 4th graders. So you see here, 4th graders, they're not that much smaller than that capsule. And right now, we don't even have a capsule we're using in the United States. We're bumming rides off the Russians using their capsules, which are even smaller. I got into one with Garrett. We didn't go anywhere. We just got in to see, and I was like, this is incredibly tiny. I could tell you how small it is. You know what we could do, though? We could simulate what it's like to go to the International Space Station in a Russian space capsule. Would you guys like to do this? There's only 2 steps, so it's not hard. All right? So while you're sitting there, pull your legs in a little closer to your chest. All right? Make a nice tight ball. That's about how you're going to sit. Okay? So that's step 1. And step 2 is stay like that for the next 2.5 days. All right? Now I know that some kids are like, wait a minute, I talk to a lot of kids about this, so there's generally 2 reactions. One is, how am I going to stay in this position for 2.5 days? And the fact is, you don't exactly, like sometimes you'll be able to stretch your legs out, get the kinks out a little bit, maybe even unbuckle your seatbelt and like that's a little bit of stretch. But now some of you guys are thinking, All right, I'm fine with something like this, but how am I going to go to the bathroom, right? I can't go half an hour without going to the bathroom. So where am I going to go if I got to sit in the same place for 2.5 days? Now, you don't have to worry about this. NASA has this all figured out. You will be wearing your bathroom. You will have a space diaper on. Now, they leave that out of the movies, don't they? I've seen every Star Wars. There's no point in any Star Wars where Luke or Han or Leia or Rey or anybody says, wait a minute, I gotta go change my space diaper. I'll be back. And Chewbacca's not even wearing pants, so I don't know what's happening there. But they leave it out of the IMAX movies too. They never talk in any IMAX movie about how astronauts go to the bathroom. But it's a legitimate question. I know from knowing astronauts that is the #1 question everybody has for an astronaut. Not just kids, adults too. We all want to know, how do you go to the bathroom in space? And the reason we want to know is because they never tell us in the movies. But we go. We all go to the bathroom a lot, right? We want to know about these things. And I realized there was a lot that got left out of these movies. There was a lot they never tell you. And I thought, if I'm going to write a series set in space, I'm not going to do it in some distant future where we've got warp speed travel and don't need space diapers anymore. I'm going to do it in the current day and deal with what's it like to go to the bathroom in space. How cramped is it? How bad is the food? What's it like to go months without showering? Because there's no showers in space. So all this sort of stuff, I thought I would deal with that and deal with what it would be like to be a kid in that situation, and then create a cool, fun mystery around that as well. So, if I based the Fun Jungle series on knowing a bunch of biologists and zookeepers, and I based the Moonbase Alpha series on knowing an astronaut, I would love to tell you that when the time came to write Spy School, I just called up my friend who was a secret agent and said, hey, what's it like to be a secret agent? But I don't have a friend who's a secret agent. Or maybe I do, how would I know? Because they are a secret agent. There's not a whole lot of jobs with secret in the title, right? There's no secret doctors or secret lawyers or secret farmers, but there are secret agents. They can't tell their own families what they do. Your mom could be a secret agent. Your dad doesn't know and you don't know, right? That's kind of an interesting job. So I thought, all right, I want to write about this, but the only spy I knew was this guy, James Bond. Has anybody here, you guys have heard of James Bond? Yeah. Has anybody seen a James Bond movie here? If your hand is not up, it's okay. It means mom and dad are paying attention to the movie ratings. Has anybody seen one of the new Mission Impossible movies? Right? Yeah, seen those too? Okay. But you know that James Bond exists, right? You know who this guy is. I'm an adult. I can see any movie I want. So I've seen every James Bond movie. I love James Bond ever since I was a kid. Hold on 1 second. There we go. All right. I saw my first James Bond movie when I was, I think, in 5th grade. So as old as some of you were here, I thought it was amazing. I thought James Bond was the coolest guy. All my friends did too. We all ran around on the playground pretending to be spies. And I went one step further because I wanted to be an author. So I wrote a James Bond story. Actually, I wrote a Jimmy Bond story. I wrote about James Bond's son. So James Bond was Agent 007, Jimmy Bond is Agent 006.5. There's a James Bond book called The Man with the Golden Gun. This story was called The Kid with the Golden Water Pistol. At some point while I was writing this story, when I was your age, I came up with the idea for Spy School. I thought Jimmy actually knew his dad was a secret agent, wanted to grow up and be a secret agent like his dad, but his dad was always off traveling around the world fighting bad guys, so maybe Jimmy had to go to a top secret school to learn how to be a spy. So I told you that sometimes we've had ideas for very long times. This one I've had since I was your age, which means that if you've got an idea and you're like, oh, I think this would be a good story someday, you're probably right. It probably would be a good story someday. So hold on. You may not get it. I didn't get this published when I was in 5th grade. But it took me a while to try and figure out how to do Spy School. My idea of Spy School changed over the years. But I ultimately got it made, and it turned into a series that now has 6 books in it. Spy School Goes South, newest book just out. I tell you, it's a fun book. I do recommend. It's a little more fun always if you start with the first book, but this one's got a lot of good action adventure. They go south down to Mexico, where they encounter all kinds of cool stuff that actually exists in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, like cool pyramids that are tucked away in the jungle, and they've got cenotes down there. This is You can't really see this. They have underground rivers. They don't have above ground rivers like you do right here, like the Connecticut River. All the rivers are underground in these amazing caverns that you can go down into and snorkel. They've got cool stuff like crocodiles to contend with and incredibly dangerous iguanas. Iguanas are not dangerous. The real danger is that there are so many iguanas down in some parts of Mexico that you'll trip over them while you're trying not to get eaten by a crocodile. So I had a lot of fun coming up with the ideas for this book and writing this one. I'm going to answer one last question that I get asked a lot, which is I get asked a lot of times, why do I write mysteries? Even the Spy School series, which is not technically a mystery series, my heroes are always trying to solve what the bad guys are up to. I got asked this question a lot, and I had to think, why do I like mysteries so much? I didn't really know the answer to it, so I thought about it for a while, and I came up with it. That a mystery is a story where the smartest person wins. My hero in Spy School, Ben, does not succeed because he's really good at fighting or shooting or jumping a motorcycle on a moving train or anything like that. He succeeds because he's smart. He can figure out what the bad guys are up to, and he can figure out how to defeat them. That is his superpower. And that is the case with my hero in the Fun Jungle series and in the Moonbase Alpha series. And even though I write from the point of view of boys, I am very well aware of the fact that girls are just as smart as boys are, if not a little bit smarter. So I like to make sure there are always really smart girls in those stories. I like to make sure everybody's parents are smart. I like to surround my characters with smart people. This is really important to me because I think sadly sometimes being smart is not valued as much as it should be in our society. That when we see smart people on television, they're shown to us as the geeks and nerds on Big Bang Theory, and not as the cool, dynamic, adventurous people that smart people really are. And when our society believes that all people who are smart are dorks and geeks and nerds, then that trickles down, and people get ashamed of being smart. And I hope this never happens to you, but there's a chance sometime maybe somebody will actually tease you or make fun of you for being smart. Like it's a bad thing. They'll call you a nerd or an egghead or brainiac. And you have to realize, if this ever happens, I hope it doesn't happen, if somebody teases you for being smart, they're jealous of you. They're trying to pull you down to their level. There is no shame in being smart. In fact, that is a superpower we can all have. Right? I started by showing you this weird list of jobs. I told you you're not limited to these jobs. But how do you get the job you want? You use this thing up here. Use your brain. Work hard in school. Go on to a good college. Work hard there. Use that brain. And you do that. You can be a field biologist. You can be an astronaut. You can be a secret agent. If you're really lucky, you can even be a middle grade author someday. I'm going to just very quickly say, not only do I have Spy School Goes South coming out, but if you're interested in what else is coming out, a series called The Last Musketeer, which I wrote a while ago that's being re-released, so now you can get that. If you like the Fun Jungle series, Lying Down will be out in February, and I know I just told you that I just put a Spy School book out, but I've even got the next one in the pipeline. So in April and May, Spy School British Invasion will be out as well. So by the end of the school year, you'll get another Spy School. Right now, Spy School Goes South, that's the new one. I'd love to take some questions, if we got some time for questions here. Does anybody have a question I did not get to? Yes? Oh, you're raising, you're stretching. Yes, way back here. My first book that I wrote, so the first book that got published was Belly Up, but that's not the first book I wrote. The first book I wrote when I was in elementary school. It was called The Day the Dinosaurs Came Back, and then a guy named Michael Crichton totally stole my idea and did Jurassic Park. But I wrote it, and I didn't get it published, because people don't really get books published when they're in elementary school, but my school librarian put it in the school library for me, and my friends could check it out, and other kids could check it out. So that was very, very exciting and inspiring for me. Now I get it. What's my favorite animal, really? I love elephants. They're so smart. Elephants have really strong emotional connections with each other. When an elephant dies, they will remember where the elephant died. They'll basically come back and mourn that elephant in years ago. They have the best nose ever. It's really cool. There are 40,000 muscles in an elephant's trunk. I have no idea how they managed to do anything with that, because I have significantly less muscles, and I'm lucky to get anywhere without falling down. So, yeah. Who inspired me? there are a lot of great authors I liked when I was a kid. I heartily recommend everybody here read a book called The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin, which I think is possibly the greatest mystery ever written. But I also really like Roald Dahl. There's a guy named Carl Hyacin, who I discovered when he was writing for adults, but he now writes stuff for kids. And I do like that Michael Crichton guy who wrote Jurassic Park a lot. He did not steal the idea from me. He's a guy I learned that you can combine science and adventure with. And if you guys are in the 5th or 6th grade, you can read Jurassic Park. It is a really fun book and really fun to read. Okay, there's somebody way back over here who's got a question. Yes, you got that. Yes. How old was I when I started being an author? That is a very personal question. No, well, I'll tell you this. I started writing, I became a published author when I was 40, but I was working as a writer before that because even though I put author on my little form, one of the things I discovered is that there are other ways to be a professional writer besides being an author. And so I actually worked for newspapers, I worked as a screenwriter on movies, I worked in the TV business, then I became an author. And I have all sorts of friends who, I've got friends writing for Broadway, I've got friends writing for magazines, I've got friends writing for websites. So there are many ways you can be a writer that is not necessarily an author. And they're all really, if you like writing, they're all pretty good ways to make a living. That's here and more. How many books have I written? This is now my 16th book. That's right. Yeah. What's my favorite series I've written? That is a totally legitimate question that I don't know how to answer. I work really hard on my series, so if I had one I liked writing more than the others, I would probably only write that series. So it's kind of like saying which of my children is my favorite kid, and I don't have a favorite child most days. But I don't mind if you have a favorite series. So if you're trying to figure out which one of these you should read, I'd say go with the one that interests you the most. If you like spies, do Spy School. You like animals, do Fun Drill. Like space, do Space Case. And if you read that whole series and think, oh, this is really good, then I got other stuff for you to read. Back here in the blue, yes.
How old are you?
How old am I now? Man, you guys are really. I'm 657 years old. But you know what? I moisturize a lot, so it's always nice to come to Connecticut and remember the Revolution. That was fun. Let's see. Right here in the street. What is that? Straight out of practice? Okay. Yeah. Why do I like being an author? Well, I'll tell you this, being an author is an interesting job, and then it's one of the few jobs you can try out when you're a kid, right? So, like, Garrett couldn't go to space and be like, hey, I like this, I'm gonna be an astronaut when I grow up. But I could write a story. If you guys who like writing, you probably tried to write a story at some point, and you go, hey, I like this. And the crazy thing is that the act of writing now isn't really that different than what it was when I was a kid. So, my computer's better, but yeah. So so I knew it was fun. I knew I liked it. So I liked that, and actually, I didn't even know this was part of the job. I get to come and visit a whole bunch of kids who are enthusiastic about reading and writing. It's pretty cool. Yes, right here. What's my favorite book in the Spy School series? Well, see, this gets into the thing. Like, it's hard to pick a favorite. I mean, if you're trying to say where do I start, it's always best to start with the first book in a series. A lot of authors will tell you that the last book they wrote is their favorite because they just finished it and they're done. It's hard to say, well, this is the best one because, I'm trying to make them all as good as I possibly can. In the back there with the lacrosse shirt on, yeah.
Oh, what's your favorite sport?
What's my favorite sport? Okay, well there we get into, there's the favorite sport to watch and the favorite sport I love skiing actually, which is why possibly I wrote this by ski school, so I could go ski as much as possible and say, oh, this is research. This is one of my favorite times of year, baseball playoffs, very exciting time of year, and I love going to baseball games. That's fun, and I like watching football too. Here in the Red Sox, sure, speaking of baseball. What if I had an elephant trunk? Man, it would be a lot. First of all, I wouldn't have to use my hands to hold this microphone. I can do it and talk to you guys. It's weird that I've never gotten that question before. I think my kids would be upset because they would probably have elephant trunks. And they'd be like, this is annoying. Yes, here in the purple. Why did I want to be an author? Because it was just so much fun to write. I just enjoyed writing so much that it was just such a great thing. Okay, way in the back, there's somebody in the last row, and you got a red and white shirt on. Yeah. But you got to be loud so I can hear you. Will I ever write a book for adults? Well, I like to think that adults could read my books, and I do try to write them so that adults like them. It's so much fun writing for kids that I originally thought I would write for adults, but writing for kids is really wonderful, and so I don't know that I would ever. I might make an adult idea at some point, but at the moment I'm not planning on it. Yes, right here. What were my favorite subjects in school? Well, this may not come as a surprise, but I always really liked creative writing. But I like science too. That was why I really liked biology, which is why I ended up kind of studying biology in college. But I liked all kinds of stuff. I liked chemistry, I liked physics, I liked anything where we could go do experiments and shoot off rockets or make a mess or anything like that. So that was always fun. Okay, here in the black, oh, you got a NASA shirt. Oh, fantastic. All right. Do I know where you can get Belly Up? Well, yes, in fact I do. There is a bookstore called R.J. Julia. Well, first of all, there may be some copies left over here today, because we did sell some copies. You can get any one of my books at any of the 2 R.J. Julia locations. 10 locations? Oh, there's 10 in the library. There are 10 books in the library. You can get them right in your library today. You need to bring money, but oh, you can borrow? Oh my goodness, wait a minute. You don't need to bring money, you can borrow it for free. That's even better. You can do that. I'm sorry, right, yes. So, right, I forgot, you don't have to pay the library. Don't pay the library. If your library is charging you money for the books. Okay, let's see, way in the back there, the back corner. Yes. And you gotta be so loud, because it's really hard to hear back there. How long have I been writing books? See, now you're doing math to figure out if I was lying when I said I was 637 years old, because you heard how long I've been doing this about 10 years. Yeah, so are we one last one. You want to help me pick who asked the question so I don't have to be back in? Oh, Ryan is. Oh, okay. Yes, you can ask me too, because you brought me here. Will I ever publish another movie out there? Right. So I've decided to end it for now because what I discovered was that I made it so realistic that I realized the moon is very static, and even though you can go different places on the moon, they're all kind of the same. And so I was starting to think that I was running out of ways to make the moon exciting, which might sound a little bit weird, but I didn't want this series to start feeling really repetitive. So for the moment, I have ended that series. But that does not mean that I won't come up with a way to do another book at some point. So I'm not saying it's over and done with forever, but for right now, I'm taking a break from it. And we have a second question. But what purpose does Chang Kowalski serve in those books? So, for those of you who have not read, Chang is this kind of super cool, tattooed and mohawked guy who's like regarded as the smartest guy among all these other really smart people. And Chang was just the idea that I wanted to set up that somebody who didn't look like people thought scientists looked like, because that's actually not uncommon. So Garrett does not work for NASA anymore. He went to work at SpaceX, which is the company you heard about, Elon Musk, and they've been launching the Falcon rockets and all this stuff. And it's the coolest company ever. And you go, and it's in LA, so I go there quite a lot. And there's a lot of guys who look like Chen Kowalski walking around working on building rockets. And that's just not the image that we have of what somebody who's smart looks like, sadly. We have this Big Bang Theory image for the most part. So I wanted to create a character. I wanted to create multiple characters, but with Chang, I really wanted to stand out how athletic and sort of unconventional this guy was in the book. To set up and say, like, look, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter, smart people come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And the one thing they got in common is that this thing up here works really, really well. So I'm sorry if I did not get to everybody's question, but I will tell you this. There are a couple ways you can get me still answer your question. One is I am going to be speaking tonight at the R.J. Julia bookstore in Middletown, which is by Wesleyan University. I'm going to be there at 6:30. I'm not going to do this whole same presentation. It's going to be a little different. I'm going to read a bit from Bicycle Goes South. I can spend more time taking questions. If you didn't get a signed book today, you can get me to sign your book there tonight. So I'll be doing that. If you can't get to that, you can go to stuartgibbs.com. Just put a .com after Stuart Gibbs there, and with your parents' permission. That's my website. I have a frequently asked questions page where I have answers to about the 25 most common questions that I get. And if that still doesn't work, if you read all those questions, you get down to the bottom of that page. There's an email address that's solely for people to write questions to me. I do my best to write back to everybody who asks for the question. It may take me a while, but I will get to it eventually. So I'm sorry I couldn't get to everybody's questions. The fact that you had so many questions means you're a very engaged, excited audience. So I do want to thank you guys for being such a wonderful audience and for having me. Thank you again.
Thank you all for being an amazing audience. At this point, if you're a teacher who's late for your special, I'm going to ask everyone to stay still. While fourth grades, I think, need to go to a special where specialists can take third grades can go to their special. So those classes leave first. So third graders, if you're going to a special now, you're going to leave now. Everyone else, I'm going to ask to be patient. The rest of third grade can go now if you have. Fourth grade, if there's room for you on the stairwell, you may go. Fourth grade. And fifth grade, you can go whenever you think appropriate.
I'm gonna wear this all day, even at recess. Really? Yeah. Honestly, wait, what do you write?
My grade 3 students, if you said jump,
Oh no. I can take it out of there. Because I'm gonna say you need to get copies. Please, I could just attach a pencil right here. Or you could do so comfortable. You just make it like safe. No, we didn't, and I felt it. Well, it's still very comfortable. Oh yeah, making it. And they have each page on their own. Anna, panic heels. I made a sling out of Look at her. Stand. Look at her slinking. Look at her slinking. What did I do?
Aaron, Sarah John.
They're not doing good talk. Or are they? No, they're not. Yeah, they are because the goals are out.
Okay, everybody's not on the mats. Don't sit on the mats. Don't sit on the mats. Okay, I see it. Say thank you, Mr. Franco. Say your best, Mr. Franco. No smiling. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2. Do not break rule number 1. Good job. Don't ask for rule number 2 in 1 minute. Okay, here we go. Roll the erasers. Go like this. Lace hoop. Come here, lace hoop. Watch. This is your favorite color. There. There's nothing wrong with liking pink. I like pink. You like pink? Me too. Look at this. Turn and face that way. Touch my finger. When do we begin? Mr. Matos?